Hey everyone, this is Haley from Cartoon Universe, here with another Steven Universe Theory video. Based on the Summer of Steven episodes, as well as some of the older videos on this channel, we now have a better idea of how Homeworld works and what it's like. I have mentioned before that the present Homeworld functions on a very utilitarian basis, with nothing going to waste because of the current research shortage it is facing. To know more about Pink Diamond, it's then significant to look at Homeworld's social hierarchy, which is featured heavily in the show. The ideal Homeworld features each gem in a particular place, doing a job, being taught, and socialized by its own kind. Each stratum has its own rules, both formal and informal, culture, and expectations. From pearls to quartzes to diamonds, no one is exempt from this system. And this is the system that insidiously and sometimes overly encourages collectivist thought, putting the good of all above the good of the self. A system like this sets limitations on everyone, even the diamonds. As much as gems would like to believe them as godlike and perfect beings, such as Peridot in Message Received, or faceless members of the upper class as Bismuth did, they are still individual gems with their own motives and their own relationship dynamic. After all, we are increasingly seeing that the diamonds have very individualistic reactions and feelings. Yellow Diamond in Message Received show that beyond her role as a leader, beyond having to be the decider, and beyond knowing she's responsible for a homeworld in crisis, she still chooses to shun the Earth's resources. She loses the objective and logical views she is known for. It was personal. There is a fallible, imperfect, tired, and frustrated individual underneath all the expectations to be otherwise. And this is something that we must also apply to Pink Diamond. I would now like to discuss how Earth was Pink Diamond's first colony for very pragmatic reasons. From the depictions of the diamond mural, we see that each of the diamonds have several small circles that they are holding, and some of these circles have even smaller circles. These would be the colonies, and the smaller circles are the satellites of those planets. It's an explanation consistent with why Pink Diamond's single colony has but one satellite, our moon. There's a popular idea that Pink Diamond was given Earth as a colony, and that she refused to take a colony until this time. But it doesn't fit with what we've consistently seen from Homeworld. What we know is that gems are a conquering space race, because they cannot reap the resource of a planet without degrading its life. They cannot reuse a planet. That is their motivation for expansion and colonization, not because it's fun or because they feel like it. Taking a planet uses up precious resources that are exhaustible and irreparable. The diamonds have to budget their resources well. This is why the first thing Blue Diamond does is to run when confrontation arises. It is said that she is easily more powerful than any regular gem, yet it is accepted because in gem society, she is irreplaceable. The entire idea of poofing your enemies before shattering them shows that resources are worth more alive than in shards. Even perceived enemies like Lapis were used for information rather than outright destroyed, both during and after the war. And Homeworld made sure to evacuate as many of their forces as they could before deploying the light bomb. What then becomes consistent about Homeworld is that they try to be as efficient with their scarce resources as possible, and that leads to why Pink was given Earth as a colony. Two things to note are first, that quartzes rank much higher than do ordinary gems, and second, that Earth was a huge battleground in which Homeworld tried everything to take back the planet. On that last point, it seems very out of character for a culture that prides itself on weighing arms and benefits to stubbornly try to take back a planet, leading to the loss of many gem lives, knowing that their chances at winning were slim to none. Going back to the events in the answer, we see that Homeworld likes guaranteed winning and being able to predict the outcome of the battle. It just makes more sense to invest in something that guarantees returns. Yet they fought for Earth, which means that there is something intrinsic to this planet that Homeworld deemed important enough to continue fighting for. The minerals. Earth is an environment conducive to creating quartz gems. We see it in the kindergartens, especially the Alpha Kindergarten. It is tinged with pink hues. The show associates color with characters very frequently, and this shows that the quartzes and their kindergartens belong to Pink Diamond. Even the Beta Kindergarten is orange. That's red or perhaps pink and yellow at the least. This makes sense because Yellow Diamond was heading the technology in the control room, and not the one in charge of the kindergartens. This is why the characters talk about Rose, Amethyst, and Jasper, the quartz gems, as belonging to Pink Diamond. She was in charge of the military on Homeworld. As such, Earth is an ideal colony for someone like Pink Diamond, because quartzes can be made abundantly in its soil. Pink Diamond would oversee their training, growth, and socialization. In that regard, it wouldn't be strange that she didn't have colonies of her own before. First, because we're led to believe that the battle for Earth was the first big war Gemkind had to engage in. Before this, a military commander wouldn't really be managing a colony of civilians because each gem had its place and Pink Diamond's domain would firmly be established. And this engages the earlier point. Why are quartzes so important that even after the technological boom and resource crisis on Homeworld, they would still expand precious resources to recover one jasper. Quartzes aren't easy to make, and the resources to make them are few and far between. Notice that in the interactions with current Homeworld soldiers, we've seen only a squad of rubies. Quartzes rank highly because, similar to the argument made for blue diamond in the answer, they are rare and incredibly difficult to replace. That's why Homeworld fought for Earth as hard as they did. Earth is Pink's first colony, not only because there was no need for such a wide-scale military effort in the past, but also because prior to Earth, there may have not been many planets abundant in quartz minerals. So when the opportunity arose such that there was a planet where quartzes could just pop out of the ground like daisies, Homeworld, being the efficient civilization it is, seized it accordingly. Now let's talk about Pink Diamond's place in the Great Diamond Authority. Because of the position of the diamonds in the Great Diamond Authority logo, many are led to believe that the diamonds had an unequal sharing of power. But that seems to be a cop-out for saying that there was only one villain, White Diamond, on the top of the hierarchy. What we're increasingly seeing from a show like Steven Universe, though, is that there's no one big bad meanie terrorizing everyone else, or controlling the machinations that hurt others. In fact, if anything, it shows that the oppressive social structures and interaction systems based on what people are supposed to be end up hurting the characters much more. Steven is at his worst when he tries to be the archetypal leader who never gets hurt and keeps all his feelings to himself. Pearl can barely focus when she's trying to be the sacrificial archetypal knight. So it's unlikely that White Diamond is suddenly revealed to be the wizard behind the curtain, because it undoes a lot of character development we've already seen and cheapens the experience of struggling within the system if it turns out everything can be blamed on one person. The characters in the show don't try to be evil and make life terrible for others. They do so unintentionally, by reinforcing biases, by caving into prejudice, or by getting caught up in a huge system at work that was established way before they themselves existed. All these things factor in, because even if the hierarchy was created by one person in the beginning of everything, it is hurtful in precisely that is perpetuated, at times knowingly, by the very people oppressed in that system. The diamonds seem like a pioneering group of gems, who were largely responsible for establishing gem civilization and its accompanying socio-political system. This lends legitimacy to their power, not because they're a lot taller than everyone else, but because they did something useful, which again is key in Homeworld dogma. They could have refined gem creation techniques, established communication, basically raised an entire race. Given that, there is no way their relationship was not personal. No one else can identify with their experiences, because at one point, they were worshipped like gods and alienated from all other gems. When it reaches this point, it's very difficult to let things like emotion or weakness show. And that's why the Diamond Authority could have served as its own support network. Looking at how sore Yellow Diamond is over Earth, even hundreds of years later, it is a rare show of her feelings overcoming the reason she is known for. There is something personal about the loss she feels because of what happened on Earth, and it probably has a lot to do with Pink Diamond's perceived shattering during the war. What's interesting about the Diamond Authority logo is how symbolic the diamond locations are. Their diamonds are placed precisely in the same positions as their gem placements. Even more striking is that the end result is a bigger diamond. That is a show of unity, that they can be more when they work together. That message is essentially the end goal of a caste system, that gems in their proper places can be much more than they are individually. We have every reason to believe that the diamonds subjected themselves to the system and this logic as well, which is why we see Yellow Diamond, for lack of better words, emotionally constipated, trying to hold in her feelings and then just letting loose on Peridot when she could do it no longer. Because in her eyes, and in the eyes of Homeworld citizens, diamonds are beyond these petty concerns like feelings, even though they are not. Not to say that the diamonds were irreplaceable equals. It's clear they had their own division of labor. What we can then say is that the asymmetry lay in their functions, which could have led to one being prioritized over another in certain situations, something to talk about in another video. And since we bring up how human diamonds can be, there is no indication Pink Diamond was evil either. In the same way Pink Diamond doesn't show signs of being the bullied victim of the diamonds, she doesn't strike as the evil contra-hero to the noble Rose Quartz either. The first extreme side suggests that she wanted no part in colonizing, which we know now could not have been possible given what we know of Homeworld. The second side suggests the complete opposite, that she relished in the destruction of organic life and so deserved to be shattered by Rose. But again, that's not what the show seems to be leading up to. We're seeing a Homeworld with motivations, with weaknesses and fears. It stands to reason that Homeworld's matriarchs are much the same. As mentioned, the diamonds have a responsibility to their people. Resources are a huge deal for a civilization that just plain runs out of them, and knowing how versatile and resilient Quartz soldiers can be, Homeworld would waste no time in investing in a gem that can do more and last much longer than most. The battle for Earth took the diamonds by surprise. It shows when Blue Diamond felt antsy enough to show some vulnerability and asked Sapphire for the outcome of the rebel ambush. It shows when Lapis, a visitor, didn't expect at all to have a war break out while she was there. And the war is a messy part of the past that the Diamonds would rather not have anyone know about. That's why Peridot had shoddy and vague details of the war when she first came to Earth, and she didn't know how laden with tension it was. She didn't know how threatening her presence was to the crystal gems because she didn't know they existed, but she could have used this knowledge because she was a lone technician on a potentially hostile planet that destroyed the red-eye drones sent by Homeworld. This information asymmetry speaks more of a personal reason than a systematic one though. Prevailing ideas that the Diamonds are lying to their constituents to prevent them from following the same path as the crystal gems seems to take a backseat when you realize that withholding useful information could greatly help gems survive, such as the tactic of fusing with different types of gems. What we're seeing then is a very hurt Homeworld, trying to forget about the war. It was a shameful loss and one they would very much like to leave behind because of how much damage it caused. What we have to remember is that Homeworld is not just a nebulous body of planets, but rather made of individuals. Gems who lost teammates, loved ones, and friends over a battle for a planet they didn't get to keep. It's not an easy thing to live with, given their endless lifespans. The way Yellow Diamond has been acting is indicative of someone lashing out after being hurt. This is the same when we consider Pink Diamond. Things become more reasonable when we paint the portrait of her as a real character and not a caricature. From both what we've seen in the show and the classic MO of the Crewniverse, it's more than likely that Pink Diamond had motivations and was a dynamic character, and she was probably not the evil mastermind twiddling her fingers while stroking a cat turning around in her armchair. So, I want to know what you think of this theory. Who was Pink Diamond as a character? Tell us in the comments. I would like to thank new Patreon supporter, Alyssa. As a reminder, we have some very cool rewards that can be obtained only through Patreon. Thanks for watching!